This is one of the most prominent images of the Korean Peninsula. It depicts Seoul's superior economic strength as the country is immersed in brightness over hostile Pyongyang, which is cloaked in darkness. However, what if I told you that South Korea may soon become as dark as its northern foe? Why? The answer is straightforward: demography. Watch this video to know more about South Korea's population collapse and its effect on the country's future. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we are shedding light on South Korea's demographic problem. The French philosopher Auguste Comte is often quoted as saying, "Demography is destiny," which stresses the importance of a healthy and growing population. You see, according to experts, the world is heading towards a future population decline. Although there is a consensus on this, there is a lack of agreement on how rapidly the number of people on this planet will decrease. Presently, the global population is still increasing and has crossed the 8 billion mark. However, the United Nations Population Division has predicted that the global population will peak in 2086, with the number of people in the world remaining around 10.4 billion during the last quarter of the current century. This projection implies that at some point, the world's population will begin to decline, although the exact timing of this decline remains uncertain. But South Korea's demographic problem is one of the most severe. Today, South Korea, a country with one of the lowest fertility rates in the world, expects its demographic challenges to worsen in the coming years. According to the latest population forecasts released by Statistics Korea, the number of babies expected per woman has dropped to a record low of 0.72 this year, and it is projected to continue to fall through 2025, reaching an all-time low of 0.65. This means that the fertility rate in South Korea will remain the lowest in the world, a title it already holds since 2022 when the rate was 0.78. The declining fertility rate will have significant implications for the country's population. The latest forecast predicts that by 2072, the population will decline by 30% from the current 51.7 million to 36.2 million. This decline is expected to occur despite a slight recovery in the fertility rate to 0.68 in 2026. Unfortunately, this increase will not be enough to halt the population decline, which is expected to continue every year from 2025 onwards. The demographic challenges that South Korea is facing are not unique to the country. Many developed countries are struggling with declining birth rates and aging populations. However, the situation in South Korea is particularly concerning because of the speed at which the population is aging and the severity of the decline and the number of births. In contrast, in the 1960s, South Korea was one of the most fertile countries in the world, with an average of 6 children per woman or a crude birth rate of over 40 per 1,000 people. You may ask, but what led to such dramatic changes? Well, there are several factors underlying South Korea's low birth rate. In South Korea, people are getting married later in life due to more extended periods of education and work commitments. In 2022, the median age at which South Korean women got married for the first time was over 31 years, while that of men was almost 34 years. The average age of both men and women marrying for the first time in South Korea has risen steadily in recent years, with that of women reaching an all-time high in 2022. The average age of first-time mothers is higher than in many other countries. Additionally, there is a growing number of people who choose to remain unmarried due to financial difficulties or job insecurity. South Korea is known for its rigorous education system. Students often attend multiple cram schools after regular school hours, resulting in very little free time. Education costs are also very high, with many families spending significant money on private lessons for their children. According to recent data, in 2022, the average monthly spending by high school students on private education in South Korea was around 460,000 South Korean won, around $350. This figure represents an increase in spending from the previous year, where the average monthly expenditure on private education by high school students was approximately 419,000 South Korean won. The data further indicates that this trend of increasing private education spending by high school students has been consistent in recent years. And there is a general feeling of pessimism about the future of South Korea. Many people believe that they need to be financially secure to be successful and that a prestigious university degree is necessary for this. However, this requires a lot of money, and there is widespread uncertainty about whether children will have a better life than their parents. In South Korea, a significant proportion of students attending prestigious universities come from affluent families. This is because families with high income can afford to send their children to the most expensive and best-taught cram schools, which are believed to provide a better education. It is also believed that attending these schools increases the chances of getting into a top university. This creates a situation where students from less affluent families are at a disadvantage, as they are unable to afford the high cost of attending such schools. Although there are no exact numbers on how many people choose not to marry or have kids, the official records show that there were only 193,000 marriages in South Korea last year, much lower than 430,000 marriages in 1996. Similarly, there were only 260,600 babies born in South Korea last year, significantly lower than 691,200 in 1996 and 1 million in 1971. These are the lowest recorded figures since 1970. Without any doubt, such demographic problems have a dramatic effect on the economy. One of the most concerning consequences is the impact on the workforce. With a shrinking working-age population, the country may face a slowdown in economic growth, as a smaller labor force may not generate the same level of productivity and innovation needed to sustain its economic dynamism. As per these statistics, the working-age population in South Korea is projected to fall from 72% in 2020 to 56% by 2040 due to aging baby boomers and declining birth rates. This shift in the population structure will result in younger cohorts bearing a more significant burden on child and elderly care. As the population shrinks and the cost of living increases, the reduced demand for goods and services resulting from a smaller population of young consumers further compounds economic challenges. According to recent research, assuming all other factors remain constant, a decrease of 1% in the working-age population of a country leads to a 0.59% decrease in its gross domestic product. Similarly, a 1% increase in the dependent population, which includes children and elderly individuals, results in a 0.17% decrease in GDP. Based on this data, it can be estimated that by 2050, the GDP will experience a decline of 28.38% compared to the year 2022, due to changes in the population structure. In other words, the annual growth rate will likely decrease by approximately 1.18% each year from 2022 to 2050. But that's not all. The rapidly declining population threatens South Korea's security as well. North Korea has an authoritarian system that has allowed for the militarization of its entire population, including women. This means there are military organizations for all ages, and citizens can be drafted as needed. In contrast, the Constitution of South Korea has not yet been revised to reflect demographic changes. And in 2022, fewer than 250,000 infants were born in the country. Although Seoul has advanced military assets and technology, it still has to contend with the massive North Korean military, which boasts a strength of over 1.2 million soldiers. The number of available 20-year-old conscripts is projected to drop down from 330,000 in 2022 to just 186,000 in 2039. This decrease in the number of conscripts could create extreme pressure on the South Korean military, as it may struggle to maintain its current level of preparedness and defense capabilities. Overall, the demographic collapse that leads to the workforce shortage in South Korea could have far-reaching consequences for the national economy, security, and defense, highlighting the need for proactive measures to address the issue. At this point, only time will show whether South Korea manages to stay on the bright side of history.